Do you really think a country that some Europeans still picture as loud, chaotic, and a little bit dangerous just quietly became the place the whole world wants to visit? Because that's exactly what happened this year. And even the people who came in the most skeptical are the ones who left the most surprised.
This has to be one of the things I love most about Americans. I actually don't know if this is an American thing or a Utah thing. I was just walking in my neighborhood when this little boy came and said, "Ma'am, your dress is really pretty." And I was like,
if you want more videos like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this is only the beginning of the story. For years, the narrative out of parts of Europe was simple. America is impressive on paper, but exhausting in person. Big, brash, a little rough around the edges. Then the World Cup brought hundreds of thousands of European fans through American cities, small towns, highways, and stadiums, and something strange started showing up in travel vlogs and social posts. It wasn't complaints. It was disbelief, the good kind.
Look at this! Let's walk to the front and see where we can go. Wow!
Start with the hospitality, because that's the theme that keeps repeating across almost every account. A Scottish fan wandering a stadium parking lot looking for a ride reportedly ended up getting invited to a full tailgate spread by strangers who wouldn't take no for an answer.
Wow! This chicken is a good one.
Look at this! Let's walk to the front and see where we can go. Wow! This is pretty damn unreal. I don't even feel like I'm in a football stadium. This is Dallas Stadium. So different than any other stadium.
A German couple posted about a diner in the Midwest where another customer quietly paid their check before they even noticed, then left before they could say thank you. An English fan described a police officer near a stadium entrance who spent more time cracking jokes and posing for photos with traveling supporters than directing traffic. A Dutch traveler talked about a shopkeeper who stayed open 20 minutes past closing just to help him find the right size jersey for his kid back home. None of these are isolated. They're the same shape of story, told by people who didn't know each other, in different cities, within weeks of one another. That's the part that seems to catch Europeans off guard. In much of Europe, warmth exists too, but it tends to be quieter, more reserved, extended slowly over time. In much of America, strangers extended immediately, loudly, and without hesitation. It's a cultural reflex that doesn't always translate well in stories told secondhand. You kind of have to be standing there to feel it. And so a lot of these travelers admit online that they arrived expecting politeness at best, and left saying something closer to, "I didn't expect to feel like family within an hour." Now here's a question for you. Would you rather live somewhere reserved and predictable, or somewhere loud and instantly welcoming, even if it's a little messy? Sit with that, because it comes back later. Then there's scale, and this is where a lot of European visitors say their brains just short-circuited a little. Someone raised on European motorway service stations, clean, small, functional walks into an American travel center the size of a small airport terminal, with dozens of fuel pumps, a food court, a wall of snacks that seems to go on forever, and clean restrooms big enough to fit a tour bus of people at once. Supermarkets do the same thing. A French tourist described just standing in a cereal aisle in an American grocery store, staring at more choices than exist in an entire small European supermarket, and not being able to decide if it was impressive or absurd, probably both. Portion sizes hit the same nerve. A steak dinner that would be split between two people in parts of Europe shows up as a single entree in an American diner. And more than one visitor has admitted they simply couldn't finish it. Trucks get their own reaction almost every time.
Taking my British mum and dad to Cracker Barrel.
Because you might have to stay way longer than you planned. Not because of the places, I mean they have amazing places, but because of the people. I've lost count of how many Americans told me, for example, like, oh, if you go to Texas, let me know, I'll show you around. Or come to Florida, we have beautiful beaches, I'll show you.
A visitor used to European city cars and narrow streets sees a full-size American pickup truck parked next to a compact European hatchback, and the size difference alone becomes the whole clip. Stadiums add another layer of venues built to hold 6 figures of fans, with parking lots the size of small towns, sound systems that shake your chest, and jumbotrons the size of a building face. None of it reads as excessive to Americans. It's just Tuesday. To a first-time European visitor, it reads like stepping into a bigger version of reality. Would you rather have compact efficiency everywhere you go, or the option to go absolutely oversized when you want to? No wrong answer, just worth asking yourself. Nature does something similar, just on a different axis. A Swedish traveler who assumed America was mostly cities and highways described driving for hours through a national park and not seeing the edge of it, canyons, deserts, mountains, and forests that don't just impress you. They humble you with how small you suddenly feel. Time zones alone become a running joke. The idea that you can board a flight in one American city, land in another, and still be in the same country, despite crossing what would be several national borders back home. Lakes get the same treatment, bodies of fresh water so large that visitors describe genuinely mistaking them for the ocean the first time they see one. For travelers coming from countries where a 2-hour drive can put you in a different nation with a different language, the sheer geographic size of a single country reshapes how they think about scale entirely. Safety is where the biggest gap shows up between expectation and experience. And it's usually the theme people are most surprised by themselves. Coming in, a lot of European travelers admit they expected at least some tension based on headlines they'd seen back home. What they describe instead is clean, well-lit downtown areas around major host cities, visible and approachable police presence, and crowds of tens of thousands moving in and out of stadiums in an organized, good-natured way. A German fan described a security officer helping him find his lost phone in a stadium of over 60,000 people and treating it like the easiest part of his shift. None of this means every corner of every American city fits that picture. Nobody's claiming that. But for visitors moving through host cities during a major event, the lived experience kept landing closer to orderly and friendly than dangerous. And that gap between the stereotype and the reality is exactly what got people talking. Money is where things get personal, because this is the theme people bring receipts for literally. Take something like a stadium concessions worker or a rideshare driver picking up fans during the tournament, people posting online about picking up extra shifts during the World Cup, and walking away with meaningfully more in tips and overtime in a few weeks than they'd normally see in a couple of months. Or take the flip side, European visitors converting prices back to euros or pounds and being stunned at how far a modest hourly wage stretches in some American cities, even after accounting for higher healthcare and housing costs that don't exist the same way back home. It's not a simple story. Europeans are quick to point out they don't pay out of pocket the way Americans sometimes do for healthcare, but the sheer earning ceiling, the tipping culture that can meaningfully boost a service worker's income, and the visible signs of consumer spending during the tournament left a strong impression on visitors used to more modest wage growth back home. Would you rather have guaranteed health care and slower wage growth, or a bigger paycheck and more personal risk? That's a real trade-off, not a gotcha. And it's one almost every traveler brought up in their own way. Patriotism is the theme that seems to either move people or genuinely unsettle them, sometimes both in the same breath. A national anthem sung by tens of thousands of fans before kickoff. Flags in yards in small towns that have nothing to do with the tournament at all. A sense of identity that's worn loudly and constantly rather than reserved for national holidays. A Dutch visitor described standing in a small town square and being struck by how normal it was to see flags on porches on a random Tuesday. Something that would read as unusual, even political, back home. For some Europeans, that reads as excessive. For others, it reads as an emotional through line that ties together everything else they'd just experienced: the size, the chaos, the generosity, into something that feels less like a country and more like a shared, loud, occasionally overwhelming identity that people genuinely believe in. Food culture deserves its own moment too, because it's where a lot of the smaller day-to-day contrasts live. Drive-through culture is a big one. A Swedish tourist described being baffled and a little delighted that you could order, pay, and eat a full meal without ever leaving your car. Tipping culture confuses almost every first-time visitor. The idea that the number on the menu isn't really the number you'll pay once tax and tip are added. Regional food identity surprises people too. Barbecue meaning something completely different in Texas than it does in the Carolinas, or the sheer size of a diner breakfast menu compared to what passes for breakfast options back home. None of it is life-changing on its own, but stacked together, it adds up to a country that treats food as an extension of its personality: loud, regional, generous, and a little over the top. By the end of the tournament, a pattern showed up across dozens of these traveler accounts that's hard to ignore. People who came in with a slightly superior, slightly skeptical attitude, expecting to find a country that was big but hollow, powerful but a little embarrassing, kept landing in the same place, admitting they were wrong. Not about everything. Nobody's claiming America doesn't have real, serious problems, because it does. But about the specific caricature they'd been carrying around. The hospitality was real. The scale was real. The friendliness of ordinary people, in ordinary moments, kept showing up again and again in ways that didn't match the story they'd been told. So here's the real question to leave you with. Would you rather live somewhere smaller, quieter, and more predictable, or somewhere bigger, louder, a little messier, but where a stranger might just pay for your dinner and mean it? There's no wrong answer. But it's worth noticing which one keeps showing up in story after story from people who had no reason to lie about it. If this kind of cultural contrast fascinates you as much as it fascinates us, this is exactly the kind of story we're going to keep telling. So like this video, share it with someone who would argue with you about it, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one in this series. One last note before you go. This video is a compilation and synthesis of public social media posts, travel vlogs, and general reporting around the 2026 World Cup, put together for entertainment and discussion. It doesn't represent the full social reality, government policy, or every experience in either America or Europe, and individual stories referenced here are illustrative rather than universal. We're not responsible for decisions anyone makes based on it. This is a conversation starter, not a verdict.